Common knowledge says that only 5 true magics have been discovered, but this is incorrect. What they fail to realize is that the 6th magic is not the work of one ascended mage, but a collective magic given strength by the unknowing masses. It is a magic of infinity, the magic of the media backlog. Welcome to another bout of Backlog Brainrot. I have with me Strawhat,
Konnichiwa, Minasan.
Parrott,
Hello, hello.
and me, Connor. That was a bit of an eccentric start, I think.
That was a work, but the backlog does keep magically growing because I just added 3 more games to my backlog because of the latest Humble bundle. So there's that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I run, I work on the backlog site. I beat a few games, and I just feel like the number always stays exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I got done with a certain visual novel we'll talk about later, and I just was thinking, yeah, that is like a magic of infinity.
Yeah, it's just never ending. I could probably,
Yeah.
I could play video games every day, all day, and I would never finish.
Yep. I think even if games would stop coming out now, I still don't know if I'd ever be like, okay, I'm done playing everything because I would go back and replay stuff again. I'm sure. So
That's basically what I did for like most of my life was replaying the same RPGs over and over again. Oh boy, I
it
played Mass
works.
Effect so many times.
Yeah, you did.
All right. So everyone doing well?
Yep, I'm finally healthy. I was a little sick last week, but all good now.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
we missed you. Glad you're feeling better. I'm just preparing for a vacation in about a week or so.
Ooh.
Going out
Nice.
to the Grand Canyon, so we'll see how it goes.
I was thinking that was closer to me than it is, but that's like a 5 or 6 hour drive north
Yeah,
still. It's almost equidistant to Vegas.
yeah. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be seeing Connor when I'm out there. It's not very close. It's not really close to anything, obviously, since it's out in the middle of the desert.
Well, nothing is close to anything here in Tucson. It's like a 20-minute trip to the grocery store and a 40-minute trip to anything that you need to do.
Yeah, it sounds, somewhat similar to where I am. Just a very
Yeah.
different climate.
It's hilarious how Massachusetts manages to do that when things are actually physically closer.
Yep, still everything far away.
Yeah. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get started with what games we played for the month of March. Straw Hat, start us off.
All right, I'm just looking through my list here. I guess I will start with Like a Dragon Ishin because that's the first game I finished on my list. And yeah, I love the Yakuza games, obviously. We've talked about them a little bit before. And this is a new one. It's more of a spin-off because Kiryu is more of a samurai this time. I think his name, it's been a while since I played it now, but I think his name's Sakamoto now in the game. Do you remember, Parrot? Because I know you played it a little bit.
No, I don't remember. I'm awful with names.
All right.
Good old Sakamoto.
Something like that. Well, anyway, it's pretty much all the Yakuza cast is in like this alternate reality where they're back in the samurai period and he's like a ronin and it's I definitely really enjoyed it. It's definitely I think one of the weaker Yakuza games overall. Like it's more in the 3-4 range for me, which kind of like Trails. Like I think they're all good games, but it's definitely near the bottom of my um actual ranking, but I still would recommend it. The Second Life's fun with the farming, but you definitely need to do it for the money. And then the combat, or they have like a kind of like a mission structure where you can recruit people and make them like cards, and then you can use special abilities. But I did think overall the sub stories I just didn't enjoy as much as I typically do in Yakuza. But the ending was satisfying, and it'll probably make my top 10 for the year. Though I played a lot of great games for the first time, even which I'll talk about later. So who knows? It's going to be a competitive list. But I would
Yeah.
recommend checking it out, especially if you're a Yakuza fan.
I was curious about the sub stories because I played maybe the first like 2 hours of this game. I wouldn't say it. I didn't dislike it, but I also wasn't enthralled by it, so I kind of easily fell off it as I was starting to play other things. But I didn't actually get to any of the sub story stuff.
Yeah, I saw you guys were having a little bit difficulty getting the game to catch for you all on the Discord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it definitely gets better. I mean, Yakuza game stories definitely ramp up near the end, and the same thing happened in this one. But I got the combat did feel a little weird. I mean, you had a sword this time. It felt really funny to just like whip out a pistol and start shooting people though,
Yeah.
because typically in Yakuza games you can't do that. So that was funny, but
Yeah, I struggled with the combat. In the first opening sections of the game, I was like, I was a little more into it. And then when I fought the first boss, I was just getting my ass kicked the whole time until I realized like the best strategy is just to run away from him and shoot him. And I was like, okay, this is not really that engaging to me.
It feels like a lot of this was originally a PS3 era game, right?
correct. Yep.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of action games around that time that tried to introduce shooting kind of devolved into that. Or maybe that's just how I played games at that time.
Yeah, I definitely, I definitely will go back to it. I'm just not totally sure when. I got sidetracked with other games, but I will eventually give it another go. I only played like 2 or 3 hours of it. I only got to like, I don't even know. Like, I guess I got to the next town, like the main town that you play in, but I
Oh
honestly
yeah.
don't know.
Neat. I that won't probably be a far ways off if I ever get to it, since I haven't even touched that series yet.
Yeah, you need to just start with Yakuza 0 and work your way up. Yakuza 0's, if not, it's not everybody's favorite, but it's close to the best one. It's probably my number 2 or 3.
So you think that Ishin is not the worst one, but it's towards the bottom?
Yeah, I don't. I liked it more than Yakuza 3, which is my least favorite. I think
Yeah.
I even put it above 4, or right on that level, but I don't think I put it above any of the other ones. Even Judgment and Lost Judgment, I liked more than that.
Yeah, that checks out with like the little bit I played. It definitely felt a lot like 3, which makes sense because it was a PS3 game.
Yep, exactly.
Hmm. All right then, Parrot. Which one do you want to start with?
I'll start with the game that I dropped Like a Dragon for, and that was Twilight Princess HD on my
Ooh.
wonderful Wii U. I dusted it off the first time I played that thing in years at that point.
As a fully understandable decision, if I may say so.
Yeah, it was really funny using that thing again. My girlfriend kept making fun of it whenever she saw it because I mostly played the game all in the handheld mode, and I brought the Wii U upstairs and I just plugged it into the wall and didn't plug into the TV or anything, and I would just play it on the couch with like earbuds plugged into it, and she just laughed at it every single time she saw it. Pretty much this big ugly tablet.
Yeah, the Fisher Price looking
Yep,
tablet.
that's exactly what I said.
My brother-in-law has been through that. It's a very convenient tablet if there's kids all over the house too. It's
Yeah,
just, oh, don't need a TV anymore.
yeah, and they probably can't break it.
Well,
Well, maybe.
not my nephews. They oof.
But the game itself was super, super, super good. I had played a little bit of this, more than a little bit. I probably played like the first like 8 or 9 hours of this game years ago. I couldn't possibly tell you why I stopped playing it because I remember I liked it back then too, and I just fell off it for some reason. So this time I decided to start it back at the beginning. And the game, everybody says it, but it's definitely true that the game starts really slow.
I can't really remember too much about the start.
You start in the village and you're just running around doing errands for the villagers, and then you get turned into the wolf for the first time, and then that takes a really long time. Just like the time from the beginning to your first dungeon is probably like a few hours.
Oh,
And in my opinion, one of my only real complaints with the game is I don't really love the wolf sections. I don't hate them, but in the beginning of the game, like the first third of it, there are multiple times where you are forced to be the wolf for like a long time on for like a really long time. And I think those are like the most annoying parts of the game. But later on, you gain the ability to change to the wolf at any time and then change
yeah.
back from the wolf to the human. And once you can do that, I actually think the wolf is really, really cool.
He also had all those fun. Well, it was gimmicky at the time, but I was totally down for the gimmick when a game first came out with like the Wiimote tracking, bow mechanics, and all that.
Right, yeah. So I did not play with any of that stuff since I did the Wii U version. So the game is slow at the start, and I think the first 3 dungeons are like good Zelda dungeons, but like after those first 3 and you start to go on like your second, like every Zelda game, you beat the first 3 dungeons and then something happens, then you have to go beat like 4 more. And those ones are like all of them are so good.
Yeah. There I vaguely remember like some of the boss fights near the end of that, and
Yes.
geez, those were the double hook shot, man. That
Yeah,
was just peak.
the double hook shot is so cool. And this like the dungeon where you're just in that winter cottage basically, and you have to run around and try to find, like you're trying to find the object or whatever, but the woman keeps leading you the wrong direction, and you're like getting ingredients for soup. That's so good. And then
I
the other dungeon I really love is the also in the second half, you have to do this dungeon where you work your way up like 8 or 9 floors or something, and then you get the rod that lets you control statues. So then the second half of the dungeon is you bringing that statue back down.
Oh,
It's so cool.
I vaguely remember that one. But wow, I've forgotten so much about that game. It's
Yeah,
about due for a replay, I guess then.
yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's I'm gonna do our Zelda episode with Sean and Edwin, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's pretty high up there for me. It has a really good sense of scale. I think that also comes a little bit with issues. Like you get to ride your horse a lot, which is cool, but the controls on it not always the best. But it does have a very huge like sense of scale and adventure compared to a lot of other Zeldas. At this time especially.
I've never played Twilight Princess, but I've always wondered how much controlling Wolf-Link compares to controlling Amaterasu from Okami, because she is also a wolf.
Yeah, I don't know because I've never played Okami, and then playing this game made me decide like, oh, I'm gonna eventually go and play that.
That's on my backlog as well.
I played the original. I played it when it came to Wii. I know it was on PS2 originally, but I played it on Wii and I really liked it. And I do have the remastered or whatever edition I need to try on Steam, so I definitely want to play it again because I really did like it. It's really good.
Yeah, maybe I'll play it when you do at some point because I've really been in this Zelda mood. As you can tell, when we get further on in the episode, I have another game that's like Zelda, and I've been pretty much just playing these Zelda type games for the last few months, preparing for the episode.
You're talking about PAX East, and the first game on both yours and Sean's list was the Zelda clone.
Yep.
Well, I pretty much started off the month with that new action RPG from Team Ninja Wo Long, which was a very spur of the moment decision for me. It just everyone, well, not everyone, but a few people on the Discord started playing it. I still had Game Pass, and I was kind of itching for that Sekiro esque, From Soft esque sort of adventure. So I decided to give it a shot. And overall, I had a pretty good time with it. I don't think I was as impressed with it as a lot of people. Uh, it came off to me as a it lacked a certain level of presentational polish, I guess. I don't even know if that's the right way of putting it. It's just certain key moments of it, it felt like the polish of it broke. So
Right.
my it was a little bit of a lukewarm experience for me, but it had a lot of really good moments, and overall the action mechanics in it were pretty darn enjoyable.
Was there anything that it did better than the Souls games?
I If you like faster combat, this is definitely that. There's also some progression mechanics that are a lot easier to work with, probably. Um, this is not a particularly punishing game, I thought. They got like respawn points pretty much all over the place. It was kind of an interesting level design change compared to Sekiro, where those maps are very Byzantine and maze like, but here it's more like, okay, here's the battlefront. You're going to run around it, capture points, claim ground, and then do a final assault on the boss of the level. So everything felt a little more contained, and just overall, the pacing was a lot easier to work with. You felt like you could do the game in chunks, which was actually a big benefit to it.
It does sound interesting. This was on Game Pass, right? So I could just try it.
Yeah, you might as
My
well.
my experience with Souls games is very minimal, so I'm not sure if I would or wouldn't like it. Like I really love Demon Souls Remake, and then that's about it.
Yeah, I'd say if you've ever enjoyed like a DMC or um, Ninja Gaiden appropriately enough, I I would say it's definitely more in that camp in terms of action and just overall flow. The thing that one of the things that really got me is I'm just not down for their way of doing loot and equipment.
Oh,
I had, I had like the same swords for 80% of the game, and I just could not find a good reason why I should switch to anything else.
yeah, that's relatable. That's me in like almost every loot game.
Yeah, they have your typical colored loot rarities, and then I'm upgrading the same piece of gear. And it's like, okay, I can just keep upgrading this piece of gear, and its stats are completely relevant for the whole time, which is fine. But you gave me all the weapon types from the start,
Yeah, so
so
like what's the point?
yeah, I just, why am I upgrading anything? I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, but it's good.
Yeah, I might have to check it out, at least just to try it. Might as well, right?
Might as well. All right, Strat. What's next?
All right, so the rest of the games on my list, I played some really good ones. I played some 5-star games this month,
Yeah,
and
you did.
I would say the next 3 out of the 4 games left on my list are 5-star games, and I'm sure you can guess which one is not the 5-star game when I talk about it. But the next game I finished was the original BioShock, which the only time I had started it a long time ago when I think when I first built my PC, oddly enough, I had tried it, but it was through the Windows Store, like the old Windows
Yay.
Store, and it was bad.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy playing it on that. So I only played like maybe an hour or two, and I'm just like, I don't want to play this anymore because I hate the Windows Store. It was so bad.
It was so bad then. Still not great.
Yeah, it's still not good, but it's probably better than back then. But anyway, I have the remastered version on Steam, and I'm like, I'm gonna try this, and I really loved it. I was surprised because I am not a shooter fan really, because I'm mostly a character's story type of gamer over anything. I do enjoy gameplay as well, of course, but this game really did hook me. I mean, the story was great, the characters were interesting, and I did enjoy the combat a lot, even though I mostly just whacked everybody with the wrench. But
Yeah.
that was fun in its of itself. So yeah, we might do a special episode on it. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but I really liked it, and it is most likely my favorite shooter of all time. Not even close. Sorry, Borderlands 2, but Bioshock was a way better story than that. So
Yeah. For the record, have you ever played a Halo game?
I've only played Halo 3 multiplayer. I've never played any other Halos.
Okay, okay. We'll have to work on that. So
Yeah.
we'll let this claim go for now.
All right.
But yeah, you inspired me to start a replay as well. And it's been over 10 years since the last time I played it, I think. It was kind of funny when I first got into the game because my dad picked it up on a Steam sale pretty randomly and is just said, "Oh, okay, I got this. You can play it." I'm like 12 years old and I was a scary cat, so the game was completely over my head when I first tried it out. Got couldn't even really make it out of that opening section where you had the little splicer chasing you, and I was like, "Oh, this is too much for me." But,
Mm-hmm.
but then my little brother, like a year later, who's like 2 years old younger than me, he's like, "I'm gonna play it." I'm like, no, no, no. Big brother's got to get through it first so you can. And then I suffered my way through the rest of the game, got some wrench upgrades, and basically played the whole game hiding and hitting things with wrenches while pretending I'm not completely scared out of my mind.
That's good. I haven't played this game in probably a decade also. I remember playing it on Xbox 360 probably around when it came out. I'm pretty sure I went to Hollywood Video and rented it. And then I didn't play it again for many years until I got a PS3 in college and I replayed it on there because back then I was actually like into trophies, so I was like, oh, I should replay all the games I played on my 360.
Yeah,
So
we all had a moment with that.
Yep,
yeah,
we
yeah.
did.
So that's probably the last time I played that game. It is so good though. So many parts of it are still very vivid in my memory.
Yeah. And it held up way better than I expected on a replay now. And there's so much more detail to the story than I ever remembered. But and I was already kind of conscious of it even back then. But yeah, I'm still very hot in this game. It's great.
Do you guys remember if they let you listen to the audio logs while you played in the original, or did they just fix that in the remaster?
That was in the original.
Okay,
That's
yeah, that's a good thing because I remember the Batman games did not, and that
Ugh.
annoyed me so much.
Any game where it doesn't let you, I just don't even bother because it's just like, why would you do this to me?
yeah, that was something I noted in like my written review on it is that's just almost everyone had the idea of, oh, we'll copy BioShock for all this great lore building. We'll do the audio log things, but almost everyone forgot the fact that BioShock lets you hit the button to start playing it while you're continuing to explore.
Yep.
Yep.
So many good things that everyone else didn't realize it was doing.
Yeah, because it really just leads into the atmosphere of wandering around, this abandoned underwater city, listening to listening to the audio logs as you're exploring and finding stuff.
Yeah. So,
Also, I saved all the little sisters.
of course,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I played that's what I also did.
if you don't, you are psychotic.
Yeah. I think I did some sort of playthrough where I killed them all for a trophy or something, or probably an achievement back then because I was on 360.
Achievables.
Yep.
Yeah. Achievables make you do some things.
Yep. A lot of things I didn't want to do. I was like, no, don't make me do this to them.
Yeah.
So will you move on to Bioshock 2 or are you going to go to Infinite?
I'll play Bioshock 2. That's one of my ones I want to play next. I already have it downloaded, so it's definitely, hopefully by next month, I'll play it and be done with it and talking about it on here again.
Very cool. I played through that one, but don't remember much anything about it other than
Same.
the fact that the drill was a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to using the drill. I've heard about that too, so.
A special episode on it to go more to really deep delve into it, I think would be appropriate at some point, but we'll have to figure that out.
Yep.
In the meantime, what's next for you, Parrott?
Well, did I mention that I like Zelda?
No.
Well, it's not Zelda, but I played Tunic, which is basically Zelda. This game came out last year? For some reason,
Well,
I never tried it.
I think it was even before that because I remember it came to Xbox first. I thought like a full year almost before it came to everything else, but I could be wrong. I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Ever since I got on the LSM Discord, time has been just a warp. I don't remember when any of this stuff
Yep.
happened.
Agreed. So this game just passed me by because I would say like the last few months, my love of Zelda has been rekindled because I went probably like 5-6 years without playing one other than Breath of the Wild. Like I haven't played like a traditional dungeon like puzzly Zelda game. So I went like a long time without playing one. So Tunic came and I'm like, oh, I always like Zelda, but I haven't really been in the mood in a while. So I didn't play it. But then now I've been playing all those Zelda games, so it started to be on my mind again. And at PAX, Sean was talking to me about Tunic. So I was like, when I get home, I'm going to play it. And I am really, really, really glad that I did. It plays just like 2D Zelda, but it's definitely has its own like unique feel to it.
It looks so charming. It's one
Mhm.
that I definitely do want to get to at some
Me
point.
too. I remember Sean always has been talking about how great it is. So yeah, I'd added it to my wish list right now because I don't know why I didn't have it on there before.
It is so good. Like the art style is just gorgeous.
It gives me some real Fez vibes in terms of just the overall feeling of it.
That is a really good comparison. I didn't think about that, but yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely very much like 2D Zelda, but one thing that's very different is that you can find upgrades in the world. Like, so you find like treasure chests or whatever, like a normal Zelda game, but the
Yeah.
whole world has them. And then, like, a lot of them involve you getting like an item that you can then pay your money to upgrade yourself permanently. So it has like a little bit of that light RPG mechanic to it.
Interesting.
What's really cool about the game is that it does not tell you anything. Like it really just drops you in the game. and one of the main collectibles in the game are pages of like there are pages, and they come with 2 pages every time you find one, and they're just part of an in-game manual that is styled just like an old NES manual.
Yeah,
So like in the manual, the pages that you find is where it'll actually teach you how to play the game while you're playing the game. And then also that's where you'll find maps, and you'll also find like hints on where you should be going.
that's really
Yeah,
fun.
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest parts about it. Every single time I found one, I just was like looking at it and all the art inside of it and just like marveling at it.
Yeah, that's kind of the point that really made it stick out in my head. As someone who never really played any of the classic Zelda games, but I also tried that one. Was playing that one game, Death's Door, around the same time, and
Yep.
it's like, oh, this is something. At some point, I'm gonna have to sit down with both of these and really go through them.
Yeah, they definitely have some similarities between the two because I played Death's Door last year around the same time. And this Tunic has really hard bosses, I will say that. So that's kind of interesting. But because of the upgrade system, the bosses are hard, but they're never too hard, you know. You can get a little frustrated doing it, but I feel like as long as you're like actually looking around and finding the upgrades, eventually you are going to succeed once you learn their patterns and stuff.
Yeah, which is what a good RPG like mechanic does.
Yeah. There were like a couple bosses I probably like struggled against for about like 20-25 minutes, and then when I finally finished them, it was really satisfying to actually be able to beat it and be like, yes, I finally did it.
Very nice.
My only complaint is the open-endedness is very good for a lot of the game, but there are a few points where it was like a little too like open-ended and obtuse, so I ended up having to look up something after just wandering around for like 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, I need to just mostly towards the end. There's like a certain thing that you have to do at the end that can be a little confusing. So, but
Yeah,
otherwise, I think it's really fun game just to explore and figure out on your own.
yeah, that's kind of an inevitable thing that happens with such games, but it's fine. That's what the community's for, and that's more
Yep.
or less what happened to me with Hollow Knight.
Mm.
All right. Well, next on my list was a kind of a surprise, another spur of the moment thing that happened, mostly at the prodding of one of my friends who, in fact, bought it for me as I was sitting there and refusing to pick up a new game at the time. Sunhaven, which is a RPG, action RPG farming sim.
Ooh, I don't think I've heard of this. I'm gonna have to look
Me
this
either.
up.
Yeah, so it's more or less a Stardew Valley derivative.
It does look a lot like Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it full on ripoff because they have a lot, they have a lot of their own ideas, and that's good. So derivative is probably the better word for it.
It looks very much like an anime Stardew
Yeah, I was gonna say
Valley.
this is just a Connor Stardew Valley game.
It's definitely a little more anime side. I'm more partial to the Stardew Valley in like world sprites, but I like the character art and some of the dialogue and all that here, so that's really fun. I've ended up really enjoying this game a lot more than I expected to the point where I am now reversing the pestering with my friend. And he was trying to get through finals, and I kept going, well, not finals, midterms or whatever it was. And I keep saying, hey, let's play Sunhaven. Hey, let's play Sunhaven. Hey, let's play Sunhaven.
Now he regrets it. He regrets having you get it.
Almost. He is enjoying it a lot too, still. We're about almost near the end of fall. It's got a very similar to any farming sim kind of structure, except there's a more what's the word I'm looking for, substantial quest line in the game where you actually have a thing like a central plot of things to do, not like any big grand scope, but it's just this constant little thing of, oh, okay, you can work towards this now, you can work towards this
Right.
now, sort of things.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, the combat looks a little more interesting than Stardew Valley. The combat in Stardew Valley is really not that strong. It might be even more a little more like Rune Factory then.
Yeah, I haven't played Rune Factory or Harvest Moon, but it is almost sort of Mana-esque or Secret of Mana, depending on which platform you had as a kid, where you like there's actual wilderness in between some of the different areas of the game, and there's more than just the one town. And so in between, you kind of have little adventure elements where you're finding stuff and killing enemies, and just about everything gives you some sort of experience, whether it's for exploration or combat or fishing or farming or mining.
Yeah, I really like the farming sim, so I'll definitely have to add it to my list. I still haven't even played Harvestella, which I always thought looked really cool too. So I'll add it to my list of farming sims, which are apparently a hot genre right now. So
Apparently, yeah, this is definitely, it's really nice about it coming off of Stardew is they sped up a lot of the things that are slow in Stardew, which works for them, but this kind of helps it differentiate and feel like a fresh experience where you're not spending as much time on a lot of the busy work as you would be before.
nice.
Yeah. So, good game. Would recommend.
Does sound interesting. I never really played a farming game for the most part.
I'm pretty new to the genre as well, but so far it's 2 for 2 on games I've enjoyed.
I will try Stardew Valley eventually. Alexis has been trying to get me to play in co-op with him for like months at this point. So eventually I will crack and I will play it.
Nice. All right. Straw Hat, what's next?
All right. Well, the next game I finished was, of course, we got to keep the Fire Emblem train rolling here and talk
Whoop,
about
whoop.
Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Very long game. I think it wasn't as long as Engage, but it still felt. I think it was 65 hours it took me. I did
Oh
play
boy.
on hard, which this game was hard. I will give it
Yeah.
that. Like it is a tough game because they changed some things as far as weaknesses goes. Like the biggest thing that throws me off all the time is archers are not that strong against like Wyvern riders.
Anything.
Yeah, or anything really, but especially that because that was always like my go-to. And even like mages kind of are bad in this game because they're not really strong against even like the heavy armored units. They're almost faster than the mages at times. So they definitely did some weird stat boosts and gains with this, but I
Yeah.
really like this game. It's definitely one of my favorite Fire Emblem games now. It's kind of different how they do it because they really split you apart into different armies, which I also kind of like and don't like at the same time.
It's definitely a departure.
Yeah, it's something different, but I could tell you one thing: if you don't like Fire Emblem combat, then don't play this game though, because especially on, I don't know if it's normal or hard on this one, because I think they messed up the difficulty in the English version, but it is hard. Like just
Yeah.
like everything is just so challenging, and I will say that the one thing I really liked about this game too is that the objectives are so varied throughout all the campaigns, which I always like when they do that. It's not just route the enemy. Unfortunately, near the end of the game, they resort back to that. And then they also spam you with respawning units. And since you have to route the entire or route the enemy, you have to get rid of all of them, even if they
Ugh.
spawn across the whole map where your team is. So definitely is my one gripe. But other than that, the boss fights are great. It's I love the diversity of the different army units. Like you have the different creatures, which I used more this time than I did in Path of Radiance. But
I didn't
yeah,
really use them a whole lot in the last game.
no, I didn't either. This one I used them a lot more just because there were times where I didn't have any money again to buy weapons for my unit. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll use some of the animals so that I don't waste weapons. But
That's a
yeah,
departure.
the story is really good for this because it continues from Path of Radiance. I always like when they kind of continue on, but yeah, I definitely think Fire Emblem fans, I see why they love this game now. And finally, I'm now caught up with all English released Fire Emblem games. I've did it.
Nice job. I hope to join you in the not too distant future.
Proud of you. Does that mean that next month we'll go 1 month without a Fire Emblem game?
There's a potential. I don't think I'll be able to continue the game
Well, I will say
very soon.
Digimon Survive is a turn based strategy game
Yep.
too. So
Yep.
But Parrott's playing that with us this month, so he gets to be in on it. Yeah, Path of Radiant Dawn. It probably won't surprise you too much to hear that I got to level 3, got a little stuck, and then just decided that I was going to have to chill on it for a while because the weaknesses and all that, just like you were saying, were taking me a while to adjust to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran out of a lot of extra time to think about it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to turn down my expectations and get to this later.
And I know, like I said, a lot of people's biggest criticisms with this one is just because of how difficult it is and how weird the classes and stuff are, and just the units in general. Some people don't like jumping around between the different armies either. So I can see why Path of Radiance is far more of a traditional Fire Emblem game than this one is, no doubt.
Yeah. I did always like that in Halo 2 with the jumping storyline, so actually is kind of an interesting part to me. So I look forward to it when I do get to it. All right. Parrott, what else you been playing?
So earlier you mentioned how you spur of the moment bought a game.
Yes.
Well, I finally, after months of deliberation, spur of the moment bought a console,
Oh,
and I
right.
bought the Steam Deck in the annual sale or whatever it was.
You say
Woohoo!
spur of the moment as if there wasn't an entire Discord of
Yeah.
people
I
egging
know,
you on.
I know, but I was not going to do it. I wasn't going to do it, and then I was just like, you know what? Now's the time. Rainick and Addy, especially, they finally talked me into it, and then I made the plunge, and I know I definitely do not regret it. I use it every single day ever since I bought it.
Wow.
Like we were saying, it's like it was the perfect console for you when it got announced. We were like, you
Yeah,
need to get this.
Now I'm the holdout.
yeah. And what really got me at the end was that Rainick was telling me about how you can, which I have now done on mine, you can install the PlayStation 5 Remote Play app on your Steam Deck. And that was the final nail in the coffin. So I'm like, okay, so I don't need to rebuy every game I own already. I can just boot it up and remote play.
Oh lordy, it's the everything console now.
Yep. So now I just,
Literally,
play in bed, play on the couch, just all the time.
I used to play this game with my friends where we would like imagine our favorite, our perfect consoles and like draw pictures of them, and that's pretty much what the Steam Deck ended up being.
Yep.
Yeah, me too. If only I could also play my Switch games on there. That's like the only console at this point that you can't
Well,
stream. Well, you could.
you can
Yes,
emulate
you
them.
You
do.
could.
Yeah.
I have not gone down that rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
so one of the first games I actually played on this was a game that Rainick gifted me that he got in a humble bundle at some point that he never claimed. It was called Super Magbot. So this game was so good. Very hard, pretty frustrating at many times, but it was super good. So it is a platformer, of course. That's my favorite. But it is structured basically identical to Super Meat Boy, where like I think there's 4 worlds, but each world has like 27 levels. But if you do them correctly, most of the levels are like 20 seconds long. But the amount of time that you spend trying to get that 20 seconds to go right, is way, way more than 20 seconds. So in this game, you play as a robot and you have a magnet gun that you can shoot 2 times. You have 2 different bullets, red and blue, and you can shoot them 2 times each while you're in the air before you hit the ground. So hitting the ground recharges them. So then there are walls and obstacles that are both red and blue in the level. So if you shoot the red bullet at the red obstacle, it's like a magnet. So red on red launches you forward or up, and then blue on red will pull you to it or push you backwards, and then vice versa, blue on blue, red on blue. So then you're trying to solve all these things, and there's often time constraints where something is chasing you, and it really, really breaks your brain.
It looks like a kind of Super Meat Boy meets Portal in some sort of twisted logic.
Yeah.
It reminds me a bit of Celeste too, just kind of the way it looks. But yeah, because there's no jumping; it's all magnet.
I did not mention there is no jump button. It's all the magnets. And then there's also boss fights, which are basically just platforming challenges while avoiding the giant boss. And this, oh my god, the last fight, I think this game took me like 5 hours to finish. And the last fight, I'm not even exaggerating, took me 2 hours of it.
Wow.
It was so hard. And it just was breaking my brain constantly because you go from having to beat these 20 to 30-second levels to the last fight. You have to be perfect because it's one hit KOs.
Yeah.
And you have to be perfect for like 2 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that. And I just could not do it. And I was like just staying up so late. it was one of those situations where I was just playing it in bed and it was getting close, like later and later. I'm just getting worse and worse, but I'm just like, I need to beat this, and I didn't. And then I woke up in the morning and I beat it in like my like 8th or
2
ninth try.
saves. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how. So I should have just stopped earlier, but it was just it was such a good game. I really am grateful that Raina gave it to me because it might end up being one of my favorite games I played this year because it was just so good.
It does look like a lot of fun. And I know from the trials, the dirt bike games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know I love that game loop of here's this like 2 minute long level or even shorter, but you're gonna keep trying to perfect it over and over again. So I'm spending 2 hours on one level that's 30 seconds long.
Yep, this could be the game for you then. It is so good. And I didn't even do like I beat the whole main game, but I did not do the bonus stuff. Like there's like collectibles in the levels you can try to get that obviously are really hard to get, and then there's like harder versions of the worlds that you can unlock, and I tapped out at that point, but it was super good.
All right. So I guess I'm back up again. But kind of a meme, but I finished Quickscoper Doge.
I do not know what that is.
Yeah, me neither.
It was about 15 minutes long. I bought it on Steam for $1 and I had it listed on Steam. That wasn't a sentence. I had it listed on Steam for a bit and then went even more on sale and said, all right, you know what? I feel like doing something really stupid tonight. Let's go ahead and buy this, download it, and play it.
What is this?
So it's just about memes?
It's exactly what the name of the game is. You are Doge and you go quickscope things. And then you proceed with about 15 to 20 minutes of streamer memes, including an appearance from PewDiePie. And then it's over. And I ended up 100%ing it, which to do, you go into the horde mode that you unlock afterwards. You spawn an enemy, kill it. Congratulations, you got one of 100 of the achievements. Repeat 100 times. All right, you have all of the achievements, which are literally named capital A, lowercase a, capital B, lowercase b, capital C, lowercase c, and so on until it's the entire keyboard. It was as dumb as it sounds, but what was really surprising is it didn't crash or break in any significant way, which is someone who's working on a game is very impressive for something that is otherwise such a low effort, just meme product. I played a lot of meme games.
High effort, low effort. It's a little bit of both.
I know. Yeah. I'm just reading the Steam reviews, and they're as entertaining as the game is. I'm sure. Just like somebody's like, "How do I refund gifts?" People are like, "This is better than any AAA game I've ever played."
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure those, those when those memes were popular, where there was the guys on Fiverr or whatever that you could pay to get things narrated for you. I'm pretty sure they paid to have those guys do a lot of the dialogue in the game, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, it's a little time capsule for a specific period of memes that will now forever be on Steam, and I played it. And that's about all there is to say.
Sounds like it was a wonderful, life-changing experience for you.
Yeah, my life I'll never be the same.
I can't wait to hear that as your number one game at the end of the year.
Like I said, it's been a real good 20 year for games. The top 10s are going to be cutthroat, which is actually just true.
And Quickscoper Doge will be one of the 10. So you're really just looking for a 9.
Yeah. All right. Well, enough of that. Let's get back to something a little more sensible.
All right. Well, my next game is the original Star Fox on Super Nintendo. I had never really played it before, so I'm like, I'm going to check it out. And I did not really like it, I got to say. I'm sure
really?
at the time, it kind of just like makes me, I don't know if it really makes me sick, but just like, it's just the way, because I know it's more of like a graphical showcase for the Super Nintendo, because obviously it has the polygonal ships and stuff, but I just didn't really enjoy it that much. Probably because I played later Star Fox games and Star Fox loves to just repeat its formula over and over again anyway, but yeah, I didn't really like playing it, I guess, which I respect for what it is because obviously at the time it was revolutionary, but playing it in
Yeah.
2023, I just can't really say I recommend it. It's really short, so it's not like it's time consuming, but yeah, it was kind of just difficult for me to play, I guess.
Sounds like me trying to go back to the Super Nintendo Mario Kart game.
Yeah, actually, that's funny because I did play that last year, I think, and I did manage to beat it all. But yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't pretty much all the Star Fox shooting games are just like all the same, aren't they?
I know Star Fox 64 follows like the exact same storyline, but I've
Yes.
never actually played that one.
Oh, really?
I played Assault, which I actually did like on GameCube.
So yeah, that was the first Star Fox I ever played was Star Fox Adventures on GameCube, which is hardly a Star Fox
I
game,
know.
but
I really like that game too.
I never finished it. I would like to go back and play it one day just
Me
to see how
too.
I really feel.
It's on my list to play again because yeah, I
Oh,
played it, never finished it, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Star Fox Adventures special episode, of course.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Star Fox Assault I always liked, but I didn't have anything to compare it to because that was like the first real Star Fox game I played, and I only learned and later on that was a game that most people don't like apparently. But I didn't know
Yeah.
any better. I just always liked it.
I'm not gonna lie, my only experience with Star Fox is killing myself in Smash Bros. With his side B.
Zooming off the map.
Yeah. It
Hiya! Or no,
doesn't
that's
matter how many years I've played that game, I still end up killing myself with those
yeah.
characters.
Yeah,
Oof.
I don't have a huge Star Fox love. I've played the SNES game, and I agree with what you're saying. I played it years ago, and even then, I thought it was really dated.
Mhm.
And I never really played Star Fox 64. I played Star Fox 64 on 3DS, like the port they did.
All right.
So I have played the game. I just never really played the original N64 one. But I did play on Nintendo Switch Online. You can play Star Fox 64 multiplayer online, which is pretty cool. As in, we played it once for
Interesting.
like 10 minutes. I just
Yeah,
absolutely wiped
that's
the
how it
floor
goes.
with Radic, and then it was over.
uh,
Did you ever play the DS Star Fox game?
I did not.
That's a weird one because it's some sort of strategy game.
Yeah, I heard it's almost like a visual novel type too. Like it's like people really like that game. Like there's a bunch of weird endings and stuff.
that does actually sound more engaging.
I haven't played it in a really long time. I remember messing with it in middle school. I'm pretty sure I finished it middle school, high school. But yeah, I just remember it being on a grid and you had to use tactics to move your ships. And then pretty sure that when you actually had to fight, though, it was like a Star Fox, 3D battle.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That actually sounds like a good formula. The one that was on the Wii U, I think, looked really weird.
Oh,
Where
Zero.
everyone talked about how that one had a really convoluted like control scheme or something.
Yeah. Star Fox's series, people like, I feel like people like Star Fox, but then you talk about it, it's like, yeah, like one or two of them are good and all the rest of them are mediocre.
I know.
This poor series that gets experimented maybe a little too much.
Yeah. So the next game I'll talk about is a game I never thought I would ever play. That's Terraria.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it very briefly last month, but I played this game in co-op with with Alexis and Harley, and yeah, like I said, I never thought I'd play this game. I've dabbled in Minecraft. It's not really my sort of game. I don't really like the building, crafting games with no real
Mhm.
purpose. So that's why I was able to be sold on playing Terraria because this game actually does have some sort of structure to it.
The bosses.
That's what really hooked me is I really enjoyed working towards getting to fight the next boss each time.
Oh yeah. It's like a free form boss royale. It's
Yes.
really cool when you look at it that way.
Yeah, that was what actually made me enjoy this game because I couldn't tell you how long it took us to beat the game because we played on a co-op server or whatever.
Yeah.
But Alexis would play without me all the time because he was a lot more into the crafting and the preparing things because when you beat you beat the standard mode or whatever, you then turn to hard mode, which is like the real game where you have to fight more bosses to get to the end. So I know like when you get to that point, you have to do all sorts of preparation. Like we were digging like holes and forts and all sorts of things. So I
Yeah.
kind of checked in and out. Like I helped him for a few hours here, a few hours there, but I didn't. He did a lot of the bulk of all that kind of stuff. I was mostly there for the boss fights.
Yeah, that was me a lot with my brother and my cousins when we were all big into that way back in the day. It's just I can't I can't keep up with anyone in that game, but I enjoy it so much. So I end up spending all my time in the base, making it all pretty and
Yeah,
getting everything all situated and then helping out with combat. But then I log off and they go for like another 10 hours digging
yeah,
everything up and finding all the loot.
yeah. I just would like log on, and then Alexis would be like, "Oh, well, while you were gone, I got this sword, this armor, oh, this flying animal, this jetpack." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll put it all on, and then I'll help you go kill stuff."
The classic Terraria experience for people like us.
Yeah, but it was really enjoyable. I liked it way more than I ever thought I would.
Very nice.
Yeah, just enough of the something on the rope to make me want to actually play. Because if
Yeah.
it's totally open ended, I just lose interest.
Yep, that's exactly it for me and why I liked it better than Minecraft back in the day. It's one of the first Steam games I got too. All right. I don't have really much else in particular to say for the general game discussion. So instead, I think I will go ahead and announce the start of the multiplayer minute. Parrot, go.
Speaking of co-op, Alexis and I have been playing Wasteland 3, which is super super fun in co-op. I just love having the turn-based strategy between two people, and you're just discussing what you're going to do each turn. And it is also pretty hard. It has a lot of balance of trying to keep your ammo and accidentally killing each other and using our soldiers as bait. Also, I've been playing EDF with Alexis, Rainick, and Gremlin. Very fun. Love killing giant bugs.
As we all do. I got into Titan Quest, which is a very old school game for me. We played before Steam was a thing, back on the CD days. That game was always broken, still kind of broken, still love it immensely. Also, their follow up, Grim Dawn, is a lot better when you're not playing with a bunch of your overpowered friends who kept playing without you. So, replaying that has been enjoyable. And on top of that, I got into old school D&D using the like the original rule sets, and that's a
Wow.
trip. That's how I'm having a lot of fun with that. And special moment, 30-second extension. Straw Hat, you have question marks on the list. What is it?
So my niece and nephews came over to our house, so I had to play some multiplayer games with them. So we played Smash Ultimate, and I completely destroyed them as I should because I'm pretty good, and they're not very good. And
I
then
would hope so.
we also played Mario Kart 64, and I beat them at that too. So that's
Good
my
job.
multiplayer minute.
never take it easy on them. They got to learn at a young age. There are people
Exactly.
better at you in every aspect of life.
I'm like, you gotta win. You gotta earn it. I'm not gonna let you win.
You gotta give them that 30%. You gotta give them that little spark of hope that they might be able to play.
Yeah. Oh, you were close. Not
That's
really.
true. Well, I let them pull off final smashes just because I never play with them, so I can see them. But I'm like, I can still win. So
uh, Last year, I was teaching my mom how to play Tekken for a while. That was a lot of fun.
whoa.
She doesn't play video games at all, but it was fight night. So, fighting games, they're great for that. I
Love
love it.
fighting games. All right, so my last game then that I have to talk about is one of my favorite games of all time because I've already played it before, but it officially came to the US, and that is Trails to Azure, the Legend of Heroes series. And I recently just started playing it, and I'm already hooked on it again because obviously I love the Trails games. I've already put like 12 hours in like 3 or 4 days. And I spent like 2 hours fighting those stupid worms that do earthquakes because on hard, it's you can't like if you use your S crafts, then you don't get a turn and you're dead. So I had to redo that fight like 12 times, but I finally did it, and I'm really looking forward to facing some of the toughest fights in the series because I know they're coming. Because even on normal, when I played the game, they are hard. So I can't even imagine how bad they're going to be on hard. So look forward to
Godspeed, soldier.
that.
Yeah.
Aaron Rod and oh, what's Randy or no? What is his name? I forget.
Is it the
Randy's uncle.
Yeah, we'll just call him Randy's
Shirley's
uncle.
dad. About tough fights, but
Big Red Bear.
yeah, I'm sure I can do it because I've played this game before, but it's
It's going to take a bit.
one of my favorites, so
Yeah. The Trail series is one that when I first picked it up back in 2019, I never thought would be the type of game that I would do full replays of. And then, like a year later, I replayed Cold Steel 1, 2, and 3. So I do look forward to replaying all the other games in the series.
it's fun because you notice new things each time because obviously the story continues through each game. And then when you go back, especially since you played newer games, you're like, oh, so they were setting this up. Or, oh, they
Yeah.
changed the combat here.
Yeah. Or, oh, this is how the combat's supposed to work as it was when I
Yeah.
played Cold Steel 1. That's useful. That can actually do damage. Whoa.
Well, you actually have to use arts? What?
Yeah, that's Sky.
I'm looking forward to getting to these. I wanted, I had to play both the crossbow games, but now I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna wait till the next sale and I'll get them on my Steam Deck instead. That's where I'll play.
Yeah, I think they're
Yeah.
40 right now. So yeah, they'll probably drop down at some point. At least Zero definitely should, because that came out last year now.
Yeah, it was in the sale when the Steam Deck when I first got my Steam Deck, but I didn't bite right away, and I figure post Zelda, then I will maybe get into these once they go back on some sort of sale. I'll grab them both.
They are perfect to play on the Steam Deck.
The deck has the resumability, right, where you can just hit
Yep.
power button and
Yeah, you
pause it for a
you
while.
can just hit. You can set it to either just start the game or just resume from your last save point as soon as you hit play, and it's really fast. It's almost like a save state.
Oof, that sounds nice for that type of game.
Yep. So I will be getting there eventually.
We'll look forward to it. So you have another roundup of short games?
Yep. You know me. I love my short games. This month I didn't play quite as many, but I played Castlevania Bloodlines, which is the last Castlevania game in the collection, the anniversary collection. Very good. Wasn't quite as good as Castlevania 4 because it was a little more of the old school where you couldn't use your whip in all the different directions like you could for.
Recipes.
But Bloodlines was also very, very good and really creative levels in it. I played Ali Ali World. I don't know if either of you have played any of these, but they're platform / skateboarding games.
I have
I've
not.
played Ollie Ollie 2, and I actually rather enjoyed it, so I was going to check out World at some point.
Yeah, it got added to the PlayStation Plus extra catalog, so that's why I finally tried it. Because I actually tried Ali Ali 1, and I didn't really like it for whatever reason, but I hadn't tried it again in years, so I booted this one up, and I really thought it was enjoyable. Had just enough of like a cute little story that was actually kind of interesting. You could skip it anytime you want, but it was just kind of cute little characters on this journey to become the greatest skater, and it was very mystical. You would probably like that, I would imagine.
I had a lot of fun with Tony Hawk games and then the Skate series, so I'm totally down for those types of things.
Yeah, I definitely would recommend it. Then I played Kirby's Return to Dreamland, which was one of the only 2 Kirby games I'd never played, and it was really good. It was probably the best just pure 2D platforming Kirby that I think I've ever played.
Yeah, I played it with my brother and his friend before. It was fun. I played as DDD the whole time though, just so I could use my hammer.
I would like to try it in multiplayer. I just played the whole thing by myself. Unlike other Kirby games, I would not go anywhere close to saying that this game was hard, because I'm pretty sure when I finished the game, I had like 50 extra lives. But it was just challenging enough where you actually had to like pay attention, and it was an actual like a game. Because some of the Kirby games are just like mind-numbingly easy.
Yeah, that's usually what keeps me from getting very far in them. It's like I respect them, but I lose my attention span when I'm not challenged very directly.
Yeah, I totally can understand that. This one I think is the perfect level of challenge for just a more lower end difficulty platformer, because it does have these really cool moments where you find like secret exits and you have to do platforming challenges while like a wall of death is chasing you, and those are pretty fun.
That sounds neat.
And then the other game I played is a game I think Straw would really like. I was doing some reading about just platformers as I do, and I discovered this game was in a sale on PlayStation. It's called Marsupilami.
I just heard about this game and I added because I heard it's a lot like Tropical Freeze.
It is just Donkey Kong Country. Like
Ugh.
everything about it is just Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, I definitely have to get this thing because I would love it.
Yeah, it plays exactly the same, and it was even where like at the end you jump up to the object that
Ooh,
ends the
nice.
level, and you press the button to punch it as many times as you can. It is just Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, and it's it's not quite that good, but it's very, very solid.
Nice.
It's actually got pretty good art style. It's very
It
smooth.
looks really good. I have it on my wish list because I heard Kyle Bossman talk about it. And I'm like, oh, this game looks exactly what I would like. So
I was looking into it, and it's based off like a really old comic strip that was then turned into like multiple animated series. So that's why I think is why it looks so like professional.
I've also heard Castle on the Coast is really good on Steam, Parrott. If you ever want to check that out, it's like $15 right now, but I've heard it's a good 3D platformer that's pretty fun. So I haven't played it, but I've heard good things.
Oh, I'll write that one down too. I'm always looking for these games. I like discovering these smaller platformers that no one really talks about. But yeah, Marsupilami was very fun. It was not super long, and I got well, I didn't get 100%, but I collected all the different collectibles. But I wasn't gonna go back to the game and do the time trial mode.
Yeah. I'm liking its full name, Marsupilami Hoob Adventure.
Yep.
I don't know what a Hoob Adventure is, but sounds exciting.
I only know that it was based off of a comic strip or something because I googled it. But the game has no story whatsoever. Like the marsupials or whatever are just like sleeping on the beach. A mummy wakes up basically, and then it's like, all right, you're playing the game. That's the game. So I have no idea anything about the property, but
Hoob Adventure.
And then finally, I will not talk about this at all. I finished Fire Emblem Engage finally.
Ooh.
Congrats.
Thank you. It took a few months, but I finished it. I think I finished it like March 2nd or something. So I was very close last time we recorded. So I just did like the last stage or two.
Yep. And understandably, we have talked about that game plenty on the last month.
We have. Good game. That is all I'll say.
So I think we'll go ahead and move on to movies and TV, which will be light this month, it seems.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say. I only have two things, both anime actually.
As we would expect.
Yep, my wife and I finished watching Carol on Tuesday because I have her watch anime show every Tuesday. We pretty much watch something different every day. So Tuesday is anime day. We finished Erase and then we moved on to Carol on Tuesday because I figured it would be a good one for her to watch, and she did enjoy it. I've seen it before. I did like it. I mostly just like to watch it again because I wanted to hear the songs because I really like the music in the show. That's pretty much my main takeaway from it.
So it's very musical based drama or something?
Yeah, it's pretty much about these two girls who meet and decide to pretty much write music together because it's more in like futuristic. So they live on Mars, and basically all music is done by AIs now. So everything sounds like really techno and stuff like that, but they just do it pretty much the classic way and try to make it that way.
Surprisingly, all of a sudden, all the more relevant of a topic considering how much generative AI has advanced in just like the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Miku.
Yeah, Miku and all that. It was funny. I read a sci-fi back that was written in like the mid 1900s, and it was all about how the synthesizer basically killed music, where people were just making like advertisement jingles on the synthesizers.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
And that turned into a whole drama. I always remember that story.
And then the other show I watched was Tokyo Revengers. The first season I really loved when it came out, and I had no idea that the second season came out because it was only on Hulu, because the first season was on Crunchyroll. And then my friend's like, "Hey, did you realize Tokyo Revengers is out?" And I'm like, "No." So I pretty much the whole season was out, but the last 2 or 3 episodes. So I just like binged it. Like every day I was watching a couple episodes, and I absolutely loved it because this is a great show. It's pretty much it's got some erased elements because this guy goes back in time to try to save his childhood crush from dying in the future. And then he gets kind of mixed up with different other things happening too, but it's pretty much about these kids in the mafia. Of course, they're in middle school, and none of them look at all like they're in middle school. They look like grown men, and they just run like a gang. So it's like Yakuza the anime. So you should watch it, Parrot.
Yeah, it does sound pretty up my alley between those two elements.
I probably should watch that too.
Yakuza and Erased, which is like one of the only. Actually, I've
Yep.
only ever seen a couple episodes of Erased, of course, in my own style, but I did read it.
I think there's going to be one more season because the cliffhanger on season 1 was brutal, which this one wasn't as bad. It's still a cliffhanger, but they pretty much said this is our last big attempt or something. So I think there's going to be one more season after this. I think the first season, I don't know if it had 24 episodes. I don't know if it had that many, but the second season only had 12 episodes or 13. So it's not too long.
That puts it in the kind of pacing where it's something I'd probably check out sooner than later.
Yeah, it's really good. I definitely highly recommend it. I was hooked. I couldn't stop watching it.
Very nice.
Well, I have not watched much. I don't have much to report. Been watching Ted Lasso. The third season has been airing, which is a show that a lot of people have heard of. I'm sure you two have. So
Apple TV classic.
Yep.
Yep.
We also are watching that as well. So
Yeah.
we're actually after this episode, we're probably going to go watch the new episode, which came out today.
Yeah, my girlfriend is super obsessed with this show. Like, she watched the whole 2 seasons in like 3 days as a rewatch before season 3 started.
Whoa.
And then like last week alone, she watched the whole thing again. So she's really feeling this show. I really enjoy the show too. I like the characters and I think it's pretty funny. And I like, I'm a sucker for a sports drama.
Yeah.
I like to see a fictional team, come together and succeed, since no team I ever root for ever does that. It's like, imagine this.
The Nets will make the playoffs, Parrot. They might not go far, but they will make it. Mikal Bridges looks good.
Yeah.
This
By
is
the
just
time we record, that'll be over.
this is just the law of nature when you live in Boston, but you aren't rooting for the Boston teams. What?
Yeah, it was a mistake in retrospect.
But not really, because we all hate the Boston team.
Of course,
so.
of course.
We kind of
Could never
do.
go back. Could never go there. And then, of course, I watch Survivor every week as it airs, which I will be watching about, as soon as we're done recording here, I'll go watch the new episode. But not much to report. It's Survivor, and I'm always into it. There's a really crazy woman on this season who's just stolen the show, and she's got a wonderful facial expressions. She's very emotive, and no one thinks she's good at the game because she acts like that, but she is. So we'll see how it goes.
Interesting. I feel like at some point we're gonna have like the dedicated Survivor minute for you as well.
I watch a lot of it. I've even got to the point now where I listen to Survivor podcasts each week. So.
Oh boy, we're losing him. He's going further.
Yeah, my TV watching has grown exponentially, as in I watch one 1-hour episode every week. But next month I will have more to say because I'm going to try to get to the movies a few times. And I've been
Mario movie.
Yep.
I'll be watching that this weekend.
I've been like, one of the only anime I genuinely like a lot is Agretzko, and the final season aired on my birthday, and I was like, oh yeah, it's time. Still haven't watched it. It's been 2 months.
Nice.
But when I'm on these plane rides to the Grand Canyon and back, maybe that's the time I can finally watch it.
Yeah. The 20-hour trip that I take with my parents at least once a year to Idaho has become one of my ideal spots for watching shows, where it's like, well, that's 20 hours. I can sit in the back with an iPad, download some shows, and
nice.
Yep.
Can't do anything else.
Yep, that'll be me on the plane.
Yeah. All right. I think I'll end up watching John Wick sometime this next month, and that's going to be about all I have planned. But as for what I watched this month, or March now, we finished Last of Us, and I actually wasn't too hot on the last couple of episodes.
Really? What part about them do you not like?
There were a lot of individually really good scenes, so it's not like I'm unhappy with the adaptation, but just overall, I felt like by the end, the pacing of the show, and I'm pretty sure a lot of it is just the fact that I watched it in a weekly format because my parents were also watching it. Normally, I would wait and binge so I can keep that emotional context. Otherwise, it easily gets lost for me. So by the last episode, it just kind of happened, and I wasn't really in it. So I don't know. I also kind of feel like the Left Behind stuff should have happened like an episode before, So it
Yeah.
didn't have to be that long breakup of, okay, here's week one. We're going to, Joel gets into, okay, probably shouldn't get too much in spoiler territory, even though everyone here knows it. But, episode like 5 happens or episode 6, and then 7's a hour-long break from events, and then back
Yeah.
to it for 8, and then it concludes on 9. I thought it was going to be 10 episodes, and it feels like it should have been.
I'd be curious what you'd think if you watch it all in one go compared to, weekly, like you said.
Yeah, it probably would have been less
jarring or less.
yeah.
I get what you mean. I didn't mind it, but a lot of my enjoyment watching the show was watching it with my girlfriend who didn't know anything about The Last of Us. So for me, it was more seeing her reactions to things, which were always very dramatic.
That would make it nice.
Yeah, she called it, it was just like our depressing viewing every Monday. Emotional devastation Monday, she called it, because she would cry almost every time.
It's been good to hear that a lot of people have been having fun with the show. So I think overall, I'm glad that this show was made, and it was, I would say, a good adaptation. Just personally, I'm still always going to go to the game. Yeah,
I would agree with that part.
All right. Well, that's about it for movies and TV. As always, we are avid enjoyers of the viewed medias.
Yes, very much.
Next month might be more, because I know I have like Mario movie. I know I'm watching Mando. I actually did forget to talk about that. And we started the new season of Love is Blind, so a little more to look forward to next month.
Yeah.
We need a nice 25-minute long discussion about Love is Blind.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, so I guess I'll figure out.
It's a dating reality show.
Yeah.
I've
never seen it. I've heard of it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like the type of thing someone with significant others will watch.
Yep.
All right, so let's continue on to reading. And Strawhat, looks like you got to the next book in the Inheritance series.
I did. I never know how to say this. Is it Brissinger?
I call it Brissinger.
Brissinger. Yes, and I gotta say, this was a really good one. I liked it a lot more than Eldest. I still think I like Aragon the most, but this was close to it, because I read it at the beginning of March, so it's been a while now, but it's really full of action, and I really like the direction that the series goes. I feel like Eldest is more focused on kind of Aragon maturing with Saphira a little bit, like they're kind of like fighting amongst themselves, and we're just trying to grow up quickly, where now I feel like he's pretty much knows who he is, and you're getting more of the other characters as well, and I just thought it was way more interesting, and the story is really good now.
Yeah, that's definitely true, that this one is where it starts being more about the external interactions between his, not just him and his enemies, but him and his allies and the different other factions of the world. And so a lot more pieces are moving and a lot more ambitions are at play. Very exciting book.
Yeah, I'm waiting on I still have to wait like 6 weeks until I can read the last one. I'm waiting from the library, and then I can finish the series. So hopefully I'll be able to talk about that on the next episode. We'll see if I can get it.
Nice. That's better than the 2 or 3 years I had to wait.
Yeah, that is a long time. So I'm glad I'm waiting till all the books are out. And then the next book I read was Disrupting the Game by everyone's favorite Nintendo president at the time, Reggie Fils-Aimé.
Oh, I love him.
My body is ready.
He talks about that too. But yeah, he wrote pretty much the book of his childhood, kind of growing up, and when he went to Nintendo, and it's really interesting. I love just reading the books about Nintendo, hearing like how his interactions were with them, even when he worked at like PepsiCo and all that. But it's a really short read, so if you're interested in the history of Nintendo or just Reggie, then you definitely should check it out. It probably would only take Parrott a day or so, and Connor, because you guys both read fast.
I didn't know this came out. Is this new?
I don't think it's that new. I remember it just kept popping up on my recommended reads because I had read that book by
Game Over. You read?
Yeah, I read that one, and then I read the book by the Satoru Iwata. I read the Iwata book too, so that's
Okay.
probably why it popped up. But yeah, it's just it's called Disrupting the Game. So yeah, you should check it out.
I'm pretty sure he wrote it shortly after he left Nintendo, or like a year or two later.
Yeah, because he had left it when he wrote it. Because yeah, that was kind of he talked about his next steps a little bit.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it then.
And then the next book, Parrott. I'm sorry, he might kill me. So if I disappear from the Discord, I started reading Mistborn after waiting for the book for like 22 weeks. I
Oh
finally
my
got
gosh.
it. And I gotta say, I wasn't really feeling it. Like, I, I wasn't really vibing with any of the characters, which is a big thing for me with books and movies and games. Like, I could tell there's a lot of world building going on in this first book. And I can't remember how far, I think I read like 25 to 30% of the book. So I was more into it at the beginning, but then by the middle, like she was kind of training with her metal powers and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't really like, there's a lot of different characters and it's kind of hard for me to follow. And I just really wasn't feeling it. So maybe I'll try and pick it up again at some point, but it just wasn't meant to be this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fair. It happens. It's happened to me many times where I've picked up something and it wasn't the right thing at the time.
Yes, like me and Metal Gear Solid.
Yes. That's definitely a series where the characters probably would have grown on you if you kept going. They
Yeah,
don't start super great and then they just kind of grow over time. Like I really love the main character in those.
yeah, maybe I'll pick it up again, I guess. But see, then I decided to read Hunger Games instead, which I had already seen the movie. I saw the first two movies. I haven't seen the last two, but so I already knew what happens. But I did enjoy reading the Hunger Games. It's definitely a lot more brutal than the movie is, because especially remember that Rue dies differently in the movie or in the book than she did in the movie. It's a lot more detailed in the book, so I already chose. I'm gonna keep reading the series, and of course, they're really popular, so I have to wait a long time for the second book. But I did like it.
Yeah, I'd be curious how you feel going forward. I remember really liking the first one and then not feeling very great about either of the other two,
Well,
especially not the last one.
even with the movies, like I really liked the first movie. Second movie, I didn't really like that much, honestly. So we'll see.
That's a series I've been meaning to get to for, well, pretty much ever since it got popular. So eventually I'll read that.
And then the current book that I'm reading, that I'm 4 chapters in, is by our own Connor here. I think you guys
Hey,
have heard of it. Metanoia, which I don't know if I spelled it right, so I tried, but
you did, and you said it right.
so yeah, I'm 4 chapters in, and I gotta say I'm really liking it. The characters are good. I made a comment to my wife. I'm like, Connor really went all out with the female names here because I really like both of them, Freya and Mia, where the men are just like John, Will, and Ed, which is funny. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't. I know you guys had talked about it before. I really wasn't sure what to expect. I like how it started out really exciting, almost like a thriller, and then yeah, it kind of turns into like this detective, like he works for the FBI, which I didn't catch before if you talked about it. But yes, I'm really enjoying it so far.
Cool. Who's your favorite character so far?
uh, let's see. I feel like Mia's gonna be my favorite, which I already knew you guys talked about her being the best before. I do like John a lot too. Ed
That's
seems
good.
cool. Like he just kind of talked to them because they went to the church to kind of see like the lecture, and he's just
Yeah,
like,
the symposium.
yeah. I pretty much like. I like Freya too. Will I have is probably my least favorite, but I haven't really seen too much with him. But yeah, I think Mia's gonna end up being my favorite. I can tell.
It's becoming a very consistent bit of feedback. Is people either the women in my life who have read the book all gravitate towards Freya, and then all the guys who have read the book are just like, Mia's pretty cool.
That checks out.
Yeah, and Will is more or less kind of a wild card for a while, so we'll see how that one goes up.
But yeah, I should be finished with it by next time so I can give you my full review.
Nice. I look forward to it. It'll, we're still in the double digit percentages of growth every time someone reads it. So Uh,
How many people in the world of Reddit? You know, so many of them are on this show right now.
I know.
yeah, almost half
Addie,
of them.
Addie, we're still waiting on you to get past the first page.
And he's probably at least on page like 3 by now.
Yeah,
I can't. He made a bet to me that day. He's like, I bet I can finish this before you. And I'm like, why did I not take that bet? There was no chance I was going to lose.
easy money.
That's because I looked at my book stack. I'm like, well, I'm going to read Connor's book after like these 3. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Andy could maybe do it. I'm like, no, he couldn't. He could not have done it.
Yeah, you forgot Addie doesn't like books.
Yeah.
He's read one at least that I know of. I actually just ended up making a small bet with Never that if he it's more of like a deal than a bet, but if he reads the book, at least the first chapter, then I'll give up on playing Kuro no Kaseki in Japanese.
Oh, he might do that because he probably wants you to.
Yeah, he really does want me to. So then I'll go do the injected one, and then I'll return to my Japanese practice for the second game. So looking forward to getting a 6th or 7th read.
There you
pretty
go.
soon.
Whatever it takes. Bribery is fine.
Yep. I'm slowly learning marketing.
I might try and get my brother-in-law to read it after I'm done too, because he loves sci-fi books. So maybe I can convince him.
Dope.
Well, speaking of sci-fi, I read, as always, I read every day. So I read a lot of books this month. So I'm only going to really focus on a few. The first one I read was a sci-fi book called Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. This book was super interesting. It is about this. It doesn't really go into the origins, but it's about how the world, it takes place in modern time, and it's about how there is now this new quote unquote pet called a Kentucky that people go to stores and buy. Picture like a Furby, but it has wheels and it can make noises like chirps or whatever. So there's 2 types of people. There are people that buy these Kentucky creatures as pets. They're not alive, but it serves as a pet that can't die.
They're literally Furbies.
Yes. But then there's someone else, other types of people that go out and buy Kentucky codes, and they are the Kentucky. So a person buys a code and they just get access to a random Kentucky out in the world, and they just control it from their computer screens. So there's cameras in the eyes of this creature, and they control it and move it around, and there's like a translation software so they can understand what the person that bought them is saying. So there's these people that are buying these creatures, these toys, and letting people from around the world control them, even though the Kentucky can't talk, so they don't know who has this thing, and it's totally random who's gonna be in theirs, and the person that buys the code doesn't know where theirs is going to be. So it's very creepy, and it's told all throughout the world. Like each chapter is just from a different part of the globe, and you get to meet characters that are only around for one chapter, or then a lot of them are around for like a series of like 3 or 4 throughout the book, and you get to see what you get to learn why they would want to buy one of these, why they would want to be why they would want to be someone controlling one. And then there's some that end in heartwarming manner, and then a lot of them end in creepy manner, and it is very very interesting, and it's honestly like super believable when you read it that you could totally see this being a thing.
I was about to say, as I could absolutely see that being a fad.
Yeah, I will never read this book. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
too
scary for you, too real.
Definitely not. When you said I was out at Furby.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I definitely would recommend it to Connor.
I loved Furbies when I was a kid.
Yeah, now picture a Furby with a person just watching you. You don't know who they are.
I had one, but it still creeped me out.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was also a really short read. Like I think it was like less than 250 pages. It kind of just flows like it was really super fast to read.
Nice.
Another book I read was called Lone Women by Victor LaValle, and this takes place in 1915 in the American West. It follows this African American woman named Adelaide, who always is carrying this large trunk with her that she never wants to be out of her sight. So the book starts, and she is in her parents' home where she's lived her entire life, but her parents are dead, and she takes this trunk and just leaves and goes out to Montana, where this time is one of the only places that like a totally single woman can buy land for herself. So it's about her living on the land and dealing with, being a single African American woman in 1915, but also you wondering what is going on with her parents, what happened to them, and then what is in this chest, because it's very quickly you learn that it's something dark and mysterious, and she's very afraid of the chest, but she also will not leave it.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
I will also not be reading this book.
Yeah, I think our reading is going to be very different, as we'll see, because almost every book I read is a horror book. Not for Strawhat.
Definitely not.
And then the other book that I read that I really enjoyed this month was Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. And this is a standalone fantasy book that he wrote that is, does not have any sequels or anything, which is, appealing to me.
Yeah.
And it has a very interesting magic system where each person has a breath in them, is what's called. Some people believe it is their soul, others don't. And one breath is, everyone has one breath, and that alone is not very much, but you can willingly give your breath to other people. And if you have the more breaths you have, the more powerful you are. And you have the ability to interact with colored objects. So if you have like a X number of breaths, you can actually like touch a cloak that's red and bring it to life and have it do simple commands for you. And then you can take the breaths back. So you're using this magic power inside of you to bring inanimate objects to life for a limited amount of time.
This is really interesting to me from like a thematic aspect.
It's very, very interesting. And the kingdom that it takes place in is led by these gods who have a really powerful breath, because they're actually dead people that have come back to life, but they can't remember their past life. But because they were dead previously and came back, they are worshipped as gods. So one of the POV characters is one of these gods that actually doesn't believe in the religion that he is part of. So that's also a very interesting element.
Interesting.
There are a lot of times when I read this book that I was like, I think Connor would really like this.
Yeah, there's some elements that are similar in a different direction, but similar to a story I was kind of thinking of writing at some point.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And then the other two main characters are princesses from another kingdom. One of them forced to marry the god king, who's, the all-powerful god. And then her sister, who is worried for her safety, so wants to try to lead a rebellion to save her.
Nice.
But yeah, it was I like fantasy once in a while. And this was definitely scratched my fantasy itch for a while.
Alrighty.
My most likely book to read of your suggestions, definitely.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's as good as Mistborn. He didn't like that very much, so maybe not. Maybe not for you either.
All right. Well, I, as usual, I did not read any actual books, but actually, first I'm going to stop real quick for a little update. I just checked a Discord notification that had gone out pretty much as we started recording. Never has already read that first chapter, so I will be playing Kuro no Kiseki this month and actually finishing it finally.
Very nice.
Great
Good
game.
job, Never.
Good job, Never. Thank you for reading it. All right, but yeah, a little change of pace since VN Club has been a solo. I'm just going to go over the VM I played in March, which was Witch on the Holy Night. This is a Nasu-verse title, so same overall world as the Fate series and Skihime and a few other works of theirs. And it's probably already my favorite of any of that property. It kind of did all the things I like about Fate and Skihime, and then kind of removed most of the stuff that annoyed me about Fate and Skihime. The pacing was also much, much better because they kept it to a tight, like, 25, 30 hours instead of it being this multi-branching 60-hour project to complete.
Yeah, I haven't read any of the Fate visual novels, but I've seen all the anime because they're really famous for being really good. And yeah, I know they're really long, so
yeah. I got into the series with the anime as well, with Fate Zero and then Fate Stay Night. And I really liked Fate Zero. Still really like Fate Zero. Fate Stay Night was refreshing change of pace after that, but I'd still say it's not my favorite of them all. But I like how this one was a much more intimate affair with a pretty contained set of characters. And I wouldn't call it the most directed plot wise, as there's a lot of moments where I had to stop and go, what is going on in this story? But it really distracts you from that with all the character interactions where they had some, I would say it really feels like the writers were learned a lot over the years from all of their efforts, and they were able to make these very similar in concept to a lot of the other stories in the series, but they did it with so much more nuance and depth than I had seen from them before. And just the overall execution, I was just smiling or giggling or really engaged the whole way through, where I was just like, it'd be like 5 hours later, I'm sitting there going, oh, I was like smiling this entire 5 hours reading this. And it's gorgeous. So pretty. A little bit of that is going to be taste, but just overall, the quality they put into the visuals is just astounding. I love it.
That's, I mean, the art style was already really good, even in like the anime. And I remember, like, yeah, the special effects were just one of the best in anime. I think, like, it's just so good how they do it. So I can believe it.
Yeah. And like Parrott and I read Muv-Luv Alternative last year,
Yep.
and that is definitely the more actiony one. But in terms of just the overall layers of things moving and quality given and just unique art assets, this is on like the same level as that. And depending on they're different styles, so it's kind of hard to compare them at that point. But there's sometimes where it's like, wow, this is even more uh more detailed than that.
Nice. I saw there were some other people reading it in the Discord, at least it looked like.
Yeah, RCT started it already, and then Chad's going to get to it at some point. So I hope they enjoy it. I feel like it's one where I'm going to be the only person sitting here and going, the 5 star, 5 star, 10 out of 10.
It'll show up in the top 10 alongside what is it, that quick scoper at
Quick
the
Scoper
end.
Doge.
Big month for you. Big month.
Top 3 Quick Scoper Doge, Witch on the Holy Night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm probably going to be the only one that hot on it, but I think a lot of people will still really enjoy it.
And we'll finally join you next month for Digimon Survive.
Heck yeah. I hope a bunch of you can do it this time.
Yep, I started a little bit and then I put on the back burner to try to wait till we're like closer to the actual month I was supposed to play it.
Yeah. I'm probably going to start it here in a week or two.
I'd be really curious to see what we think.
Although I guess now I have Kuro.
Yeah.
Yeah, look forward to that one. All right. So that's about it for reading. So, you guys have anything you want to say on Collectathon Club this month?
Right. So yeah, I know. So the game for this month was Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, and I gotta say, I was not a fan of this. I know Parrot, you liked it.
Yeah,
Definitely a lot
I think
more
it's pretty
than me.
fun.
Now, my biggest problem was it's probably because it was sandwiched in between Banjo Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64, which I
Yeah,
think are way
yeah.
better games. But uh, so I actually really liked the first world of Ty, and then after that, I just was like, my biggest issue was I felt like the worlds were too open and they were empty. Like, and then you would kind of get lost on where to go if you were trying to do everything. So maybe that was just a me problem. But then I got to the water world and I'm just like, I don't like this at all. I can't play this anymore.
Did
So
you finish it or you just give
no,
up?
I stopped. I
Yeah.
couldn't play it anymore. So I know Ryochi played it this month, finished it, and really liked it like you did. But I definitely have been trying to, if I'm not liking a game after, usually I try to play 5 or so hours. Now this game's a lot shorter, so I only played
Yeah.
like 2 hours. But if I'm not enjoying it after 5 hours, I'm dropping it. I'm
Yep.
like, there's too many games to play. I can't force myself.
Yep, I'm the same way. My leash is even shorter. So I'm usually like, if I'm not enjoying myself like 20, 30 minutes in, it's like, it's over for me.
Yep.
But I also play so many games that are short to begin with. So
Right. But yeah, this month, which is funny because I've already finished Donkey Kong 64 because I got a head start since I didn't like Ty. And yeah, so most people are playing that this month, and I really enjoyed it already. It's great. I'll talk more about it next month, but
yep.
it's nice. If you like collecting things, then Donkey Kong 64 is the game for you.
Yeah, I'm almost done too because I'm gonna be on vacation for like a week and a half, so I kind of had to get a head start on a lot of these things. So, but I'll look forward to discussing it later.
Uh, I definitely want to start Donkey Kong 64, but it intimidates me. I made
I
the mistake of watching the donkey video on it right
Oh
before
yeah.
we put it on the list, and I was like, "Oh no, what
Well,
am I going to get into?"
it's such a long game. Like it took me over 17 hours to
yeah, Lord,
100% it.
mine's
And
gonna be similar.
it's funny because like we talked about on the banjo episode, we're playing all the rare games on N64 in a row. Well, the 3D platformers, they had some other games too, but so it'll be interesting to kind of see our thoughts. Like, did they improve? Which ones are the best? How did they do? Like, because a lot of people, probably myself and Parrott included, are going to think Banjo Kazooie was the best, and it was their first one. But we'll see how, because Donkey Kong 64, well, we'll talk about it more later, but I think it's better in some ways and a lot worse in other ways.
Yep,
So,
agreed. I'm
Yeah.
gonna also be I'm like 14 and a half hours in, so I'm gonna be a little longer than you since it's the first time I played it. I'm probably gonna be under 20, I would imagine. So I'm getting close.
Yeah, doesn't sound too bad. I should be able to accomplish it. And those rare games are such a fundamental part of my childhood too that
hmm
I want to do it.
and Star Fox Adventure is also a rare game, so we'll
There
have
we
to add
go.
that to the list.
All right. Well, just about done for the day then. So let's go ahead and give our shout outs for the month. Starting with songs, I'm going to shout out Throat Play by Ina Bakamori. I probably
What?
said that not incredibly intelligibly, but nice. What do they call those? Like Miku.
Oh,
Oh,
Vocaloid.
yeah, Vocaloid. Yep,
Yes, it's a Vocaloid song, and so far the only Vocaloid artist that I've really latched onto. Got really cool
interesting.
style.
I'll look it up.
I got really into playing those Vocaloid games when they came to Vita.
Oh,
The first two Project F Miku games. I got so into those. So, and then I know there's one on Steam now. I've kind of been like, maybe I should get it again because I did really like it.
nice,
But
nice.
my song shout out for this month is White Noise by official Hige Dondism. I probably mispronounced that, but that is the opening to Tokyo Revengers season 2. So I heard that song many times because I binged the series. So I heard it like 3 times a day some days.
Very nice. And you never skipped it?
Oh, never. I'll
That's
skip
a
the
hype one
opening
then.
if it's really bad, but most of the time I'm very loyal to the anime opening. I appreciate the anime opening very much.
I'll make sure to watch it at least once per sit down. If I
Right.
chain episodes, then I'll skip.
That's what we did in Carol on Tuesday. Like we'd usually watch 2 episodes a night, so we'd watch the intro of the first episode and then watch the ending song for the last episode.
Very
Nice.
nice. My shout out, I'm trying to go with a song from a game also. So I'm going with the Twilight Princess version of the Zelda's Lullaby, which is a very, very famous song. It plays in, basically all the Zeldas, but this
Yep.
version was just very, very, very beautifully done.
Nice. I do
I'm also
like that.
Oh, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead because it's going to be a different thing I was going to say. So,
I was just gonna say that I like this theme where you guys pick stuff relevant to anything else on your list, and then I just pull these random ass songs from somewhere on Spotify.
hey, it works. I was gonna say I'm gonna cheat and shout out the entire playlist to Trails to Azure because the crossbow music is the best in the series. I feel like so. Shout out to the whole soundtrack.
Nice. And then as for characters, my character of the month is Sojiro from Witch on the Holy Night.
Not Persona 5.
Yeah, different Sojiro. This is with a Jew in the middle, so 10. Just completely useless knowledge.
What was his standout was stand out about him?
So I really liked the fact that he's this uh, kind of man from the wilderness sort of archetype, but the way they portrayed him was just so much more interesting than any of the fish out of water type characters I've seen. And Lord knows all the kids shows I used to watch all loved that theme, but this one's Sojiro's so much more interesting in how they develop him. He's both clever but out of tune, and the way they balance it makes a lot of sense. Where you believe he's a smart person, but that this is just a completely weird world for him.
Nice. So my character shout out is going to be what it's not like one particular character, but it's just the big daddies from BioShock.
Yeah.
Because I just think they're it's funny because when you play that game, when I first saw them, I was always like, "Oh no, this is going to be terrifying." Where by the end, I'm like, "Oh, I can easily wipe these." I mean, not wipe them out, but they're not very scary at the end because you have such strong
So much
weapons.
firepower.
I upgraded the shotgun immediately because I love the shotgun. I pretty much use that on the big daddies all the time. But I just think there's such a cool concept for a character, like these giant hulking guys in like subsuits with a giant drill protecting the little sisters, and
Yeah.
I'm really excited to play as one in BioShock 2 because that's the only thing I know about that game.
Those guys were so iconic on all of the gaming news sites for years when that game came out.
Shout out to them also. This is for you, Radic. From they wasn't a Big Daddy in
PlayStation All
Yeah,
Stars.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Love him. Love that game. Need PlayStation All Stars too.
It was so funny as the game originally came out on Xbox, but because they made a big deal about the PS3 port, so it's like, oh, you saw it, PlayStation All Stars.
They needed some mascots.
Great game. PlayStation All Stars, that is. BioShock's good too, but PlayStation All Stars. Need a new one. Need
Legendary.
it. My character is a Wasteland 3 generic character. When you start the game, you get to make your own characters, and then you can add up to 2 party members each in co-op. So I guess that would be 5 total, because you're in co-op, you do parties of 3 and 3. So we scoured the pre-built characters, and Alexis drafted Black Eye Betty, who is just a total badass, the absolute badass. He's adjusted her height, so she's only like 3 feet tall, but she has a huge pipe and a bat, so she's melee only, and she just runs into the fray and just slaughters people. Her luck stat is so high that she just keep making new turns, and she just demolishes the people just with her bat. She's a wonderful, wonderful hero.
I never expected to see an RPG like pre-built character on this shout outs.
Our squad is great. I'm a sniper. Then I got 2 snipers, a cowgirl, and then a dog, a clone, a robot, this midget woman with a bat. It's a great team. We can't be stopped.
I really want to play Wasteland 3. I have it. Because I played Divinity Original Sin 2 with a couple of my friends. The only bad thing was my one friend and I are both really into story and characters, so we paid attention to the story. My other friend only cares about loot, so he just was running around looting everything and not paying attention. So then we'd finish talking to a character and he'd be like, "Oh, what are we supposed to do?" I'm like, "Pay attention to what is happening." So we played like 52 hours of Divinity, and we're like, "All right, we got to stop because we're getting lost." But I should get my other friend and we should play Wasteland 3. Now I do have Wasteland 2, but I heard 3 is better, so
yeah,
I'm enjoying it so far.
I've tried both and I like 3 a lot more, but it's kind of a shame that I'm burnt out on the post-apocalyptic setting. Otherwise I'd be all over Wasteland 3.
Just love some good co-op tactical combat with crazy characters that we made.
Nice. All right. So we're reaching the end of time, so we'll just go ahead and give our what's next, and that will be it for today.
All right. So for me, the Mega Man Battle Network collection comes out in April, so this month. So I'm going to be playing throughout all of them throughout the year because I really like those games. So I'm going to play Battle Network 1 first, obviously, and I'll just probably play the series off and on because they're pretty much the same games. They just get better / different mechanically throughout the whole time. So I'm excited to play them on modern consoles, though. And then I'm going to play the original Mega Man X because I've never played that. And I'm almost through my Super Nintendo backlog, and that's next on my list. And
Nice.
people love the original Mega Man X, so I'm excited to play it.
I tried it and got frustrated by how everything kept popping out from like 2 feet away because the screen was so narrow. So we'll see.
We'll see if I finish
Well,
it then.
Well, you'll probably do better than me.
And then my last one I'm going to try to play is BioShock 2, like we talked about before. So we will see how that goes.
Nice. I'm going to try. Well, I'm going to finish up Donkey Kong 64. I'm nearing the end. And I'm going to try to really dig in on Digimon Survive so I can not leave Connor out to dry again.
Yay.
And then I started Skyward Sword and I'll probably keep playing, but I wanted to try to get to it before Zelda episode, but the more I play it, the more I'm like, this is not cracking my top 10, so I'm not really feeling the rush anymore. So maybe I'll continue to get to that, but I'm also just going to keep messing with my Steam Deck and all the random little games I always buy.
Nice.
Like I'm going to probably play, I started Katamari Damacy today. I'm playing this other random game I found called Spark the Electric Jester. Pretty good stuff. It's it's like Kirby combined with Sonic, so pretty cool.
Ooh.
That definitely sounds like a U game.
Yep.
Yeah. I had written down Radiant Dawn, but I'm pretty much just calling it here that that's going to get pushed off again. I also had Nier written down. Probably also, well, there's a better chance of that one, but it's pretty much going to be Kuro, Donkey Kong 64 maybe, and then Digimon Survive definitely on my list. And that's all I can think of now.
Yep. I'm going to be bringing my Steam Deck and my planes, so just mess with that on there too. Looking forward to that.
Nice.
Alrighty. Well, hope you all enjoyed this month's update. We're going to go ahead and sign off now.
Sayonara, Mina-san.
Bye.
Bye-bye.